I decided that I needed to check my ego. I was really keen on getting under 4 hours, but I decided I had to really just run really, really conservatively just to finish with and not stop. But I ran the last 3-4 miles definitely just pure guts. There was no there was no finesse. I looked pretty ugly running.
Hello and welcome to Set the Pace, the official podcast of New York Roadrunners presented by Peloton. I'm your host, Rob Simmelcare, the CEO of New York Roadrunners, and with me, my trusty co-host, Peloton instructor, Becs Gentry. Hey, Becs.
Hello. How are you?
I'm great. Good to see you. Okay, so the first thing I want to know, if you listened last week, you know that Becs, of course, a Brit, was preparing to host Thanksgiving and looking to get some tips on making a turkey. And I actually was able to send her some tips from my mother, Gloria Simmelcare, who's taught me how to make a turkey many years ago. Now it's like second nature for me. So how did it go? How'd the turkey turn out?
Divine.
Yes.
Gloria's recipe was a hit.
Woo!
Absolute hit. And I will caveat this with Rob sent me no measurements or timing. It was literally a mom recipe of this is what you put on. You rub the bird, you do this, you stuff it, etc. And I was like, how much? Oh my God. I was like, okay, so Rob has a pretty big family. So I guess So I winged it in true mom style. I channeled my inner Gloria Simmelcare and I just was like, all right, we're doing this.
Oh, I love it.
It tasted amazing. My mother-in-law, when we went to the supermarket and I was buying yellow mustard, she looked at me and she was like, what?
Mustard on a turkey? Yes.
Yeah, she was like, that's not traditional, Bex. I was like, well, I'm not traditional, so let's go. And she's like, oh, you're not stuffing it with stuffing? And I was like, no, you're making the stuffing. Like, she makes her mom's recipe. Her mom's stuffing is amazing, super, like, so gorgeous, the stuffing. She's like, but we're not going to stuff it. And I was like, no, because no, the recipe doesn't call for it. And we don't eat that stuffing anyway.
Exactly.
So her just watching me shove like a whole onion up this bird was hilarious, but it worked. Everybody raved about it. The skin was perfectly brown. Yes. And there wasn't much leftovers. So thank you to you and your mom.
I'm so glad to hear it. And yes, my mom, Gloria Simmelcare, really taught me a long time ago how to make a turkey. Now it's second nature. I don't even need measurements. I just kind of do it, and it comes out great every time. So welcome to the club of turkey makers. I'm so glad that worked out and you guys had a good Thanksgiving.
Rob was receiving text messages, pictures of our turkey. I will add, every parent is going to giggle at this because Tallulah's 3. She's at the age where she wants to help. So she's watching me. I put the gloves on. I couldn't find the giblets, Rob. I pulled the neck out, which nearly made me throw up. And everyone was telling, they were like, deeper, Bex. You got to find the giblets. They're in there. I was like, they're not. Like my sister-in-law and I were like, legs, like this bird doesn't have them. I left them in. They were in a paper bag. It's fine. But Tallulah wanted to come up and help me. And she also thought it was hilarious that I had blue gloves on. Because I was like, she came up, she slapped the raw turkey with her hand and then kissed it. The germ in me and the mom in me was just like, I have to take her to the emergency room. She has just kissed raw turkey. She loves animals, but loves eating. Yeah, so we kind of like disinfected her mouth.
A little disinfecting after that would make sense. Yeah.
I was like, every parent is going to just understand that, like 3-year-old clamoring to help, but not quite understanding that it is a highly poisonous situation.
I'd be reaching for the Listerine for sure at that point. Well, good. I'm glad to hear she made it through that without any salmonella, and everybody had a good Thanksgiving at your house. And on my end, it was great. Yeah. I did my annual turkey trot.
You did? How did you do?
In Connecticut with the Pequot running event. This event, by the way, in Southport, Connecticut, in its 48th year. They had almost 5,000 runners, and it was really a great event. And as I mentioned last week, I ran with a charity, a great group that I really enjoyed. It's called My Team Triumph. We basically had a team that pushed an athlete with disabilities, which was a lot of fun, a guy named Craig, who was in the wheelchair. We pushed him for 5 miles, took turns, and it was awesome. I got to take the anchor leg the last mile, and we had a really strong finish and got lots and lots of cheers for Craig. So it was a great, great day out there. I really enjoyed it. It's a great event. And I know there were a lot of turkey trots happening. I saw lots of folks on Instagram putting up their shots from their turkey trots and all that. So I hope everybody had a great weekend and a great Thanksgiving. It's now Thursday by the time we're dropping this. So we are past Thanksgiving and fully into the holidays. And Becs,
yes,
you are doing some really special things for the holidays. I know you've got a great relationship with Save the Children. You were involved in a fundraiser out in LA with Jennifer Garner earlier this year, and it sounds like you're rebooting and doubling down on your Save the Children work for the holidays, which of course is a great time to do it.
Absolutely. Today, as we're recording, is Giving Tuesday, the second day in December. And it is essentially, I announced it last week, it is a reboot, as Rob said, of 67 Strong for Kids, which is an initiative that Jen and I put together earlier this year, the start of summer. Jen decided to move for 67 days. A mile, walking, jogging, running, whatever, cycling. And it just got so much traction, and between the two of us, I joined her, and together we created a finale event out in LA, which was a 1 mile get together of movement. That 67 days we raised over $600,000 for Save the Children, which is just so much nutrition for undernourished children. And so we decided to reboot it for the holiday season, to help raise awareness and funds for the children who need it the most in the world. And secondly, just to help people get a little extra motivation to move in this holiday season and in the new year, but move gently. We don't need to be absolutely crushing at this time of year. Our cortisol levels are probably super high as it is, with all of the events, the social obligations, Christmas, holidays, whatever you celebrate. There's a tension around this beautiful period of time as well. And we don't need to be making movement something that creates more stress in our world. So just, taking the dogs for a mile walk, or a half a mile walk with the dogs and a half a mile walk by yourself, that's absolutely ample for this time of year. So it's just helping that extra bit of love, and it really does go such a long way. So feel free to head to my Instagram page to learn more. You can create a team of your own. If you have a big family, you have a big group of friends, work, whatever, you can create your own team, see how much you can fundraise over 67 days. It's just, I think it's just a really nice and low lift.
Love it. Absolutely love it. That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great organization, Save the Children.
Mm-hmm.
One of the great nonprofits in the world, doing great work around the world for children. So thank you for all of that. We have running happening again this weekend in New York City. The Ted Corbett 15K will be happening on Saturday in Central Park. 15K, a distance that you don't see very often. People don't run it very often. I love this event. I'll be there on Saturday. I'm not going to be running. I'm still kind of taking time off from any kind of distance running. I'm not really doing more than about 5 miles. Getting my body back to a place where it feels like doing that. But I've run this race, I think, for the last 2 years, and it's just fun. It's a great event. The great spirit, of course, honoring Ted Corbett, the founding president of New York Roadrunners, a legend in the history of American distance running, really the father of American distance running. And we're always so thrilled to have this race. Great medals set up for it, a great event in Central Park. So looking forward to seeing everybody out there in the park for the Ted Corbett 15K on Sunday. Well, Becs, on today's show, have you watched The Amazing Race? Are you a fan of this show?
I've watched it. I wouldn't call myself a fan, just because I haven't become obsessed, but I've definitely watched it. Yeah.
I mean, it's a legendary show. I watched it back in the early days. I can't believe the show is now in its 39th season, which is amazing. Crazy. I mean, not many, almost any shows have that kind of longevity. But it's obviously a great event. It shows people what humans are capable of, right? And some of the fear that they can overcome, which I love. Well, the host of The Amazing Race, Phil Keoghan, he not only does he host that, but he also has something called the bucket list, right? His life of adventure, which you can imagine for someone who hosts the Amazing Race, is all about having these experiences. He calls it a bucket list, BUCKIT. And on November 2nd, Phil checked something pretty big off that bucket list. The Amazing Race, as we like to call it, the TCS New York City Marathon. Phil crossed the finish line, his first ever marathon, right in Central Park, running the TCS New York City Marathon, and he's going to join me. Bex, you missed out on that conversation. So me and Phil solo chatting about his amazing race on November 2nd, the show, The Amazing Race, as well as all the amazing things that Phil has done in his life. So that's coming up in just a minute, and then Meb will be here with a New York Roadrunners member, Michael Ring, who, if you watched our great documentary, Final Finishers, Michael Ring was one of the characters who was highlighted in that film. He has crossed the finish line in Central Park 26 times, the last 7 of them after recovering from a devastating case of Guillain-Barré syndrome. Michael's not only an incredibly inspiring runner, but he's also, as I said, one of the stars of that film, and I think one of the people who makes that film really special. So make sure you check that out as well, and you can get a little tease of the film by listening to Meb and Michael a little bit later on in the show. And then finally, spring actually starts in December. Did you know that?
Sure.
I didn't know that. It may be freezing out there, but me too. On today's Meb Minute, Meb's going to explain why December training is absolutely critical for staying healthy and setting yourself up for those spring races. So stay tuned for that. It's just a run until it's a race, until you put everything on the line to cross the finish line. And it's just water until it's Culligan, because when it comes to running your marathon, you get out what you put in. So train with cleaner, safer, better tasting water and go further with certified Culligan filtration. Culligan, water you love. Culligan is the official water solutions partner of the TCS New York City Marathon. Visit Culligan.com/marathon to learn more. We all know the TCS New York City Marathon is an amazing race, but our guest today is the host of The Amazing Race, New Zealand-born television host Phil Keoghan. He's a man who has spent his life chasing adventure after adventure. He's ridden his bike across America. He set a world record in bungee jumping, and he retraced a 1928 Tour de France route on an 85-year-old bike. He decided to make the TCS New York City Marathon his latest adventure, and it's a pleasure to have Phil on Set the Pace. Welcome, Phil. How are you?
I'm good. I'm in New Zealand. I'm sitting in my in the garden of my parents' place, so you might hear the birds chirping. We're a little earlier than you, so they're just waking up and probably ready to steal some of my dad's beautiful fruit from the garden.
That is the kind of scene I think about when I think about New Zealand. Beautiful, green, natural. So it's great to have you with us from such a great setting. And you're back home in New Zealand after running 26.2 miles through the 5 boroughs of New York City. I guess I want to start by asking you, how has it been since the marathon? Have you reflected at all on your accomplishment, and what was the experience like for you to run here in New York?
Everything that everybody said it was going to be. It was and more. The energy of running through the 5 boroughs, the different nationalities. It really was. I think sort of came at a good time as far as seeing America as united. There's a lot of distension out there in the country, and so it was just nice to see Uruguayans dancing, and we saw people from Poland dancing, and I think the best music came from a Portuguese group who were, well, as far as like getting pumped up music is concerned, and people were handing out treats and hydration and food. It was truly extraordinary. Yeah, it was really great. And a lot of Amazing Race fans heard that I was running, so they came out with signs and asking to be on the show, and it kept me distracted. So it was everything. It really is probably New York's greatest event, I think.
Oh yeah, no, we definitely think so. You've done so many incredible things. Obviously, hosting this show, which is an incredible success. Season 39, by the way, was shooting during your training for this race. We'll talk about that in a second. But how did running a marathon and running this marathon end up as at the top of your bucket list for 2025?
Well, Terrence, who was on season 13 of Amazing Race, he was always he was a great runner. He's always been a great runner. And he's
Terrence
been asking
Gershberg,
me
you're talking about.
yeah,
Terrence
Gershberg.
Gershberg,
Yes,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Terrence Gershberg. He is from a wonderful organization called Back on My Feet, which is about helping people who have lost their homes or maybe lost their jobs, lost their way. And he helps, his organization helps get people back on their feet, literally into running programs and through the discipline of turning up to train every day. They have a very high percentage rate of getting people back into work and back into homes. And he's been asking me for a long, long time. He's always been a huge supporter of my philanthropic efforts, which I take very seriously. And I just thought the timing was never good because I was always coming off shooting an Amazing Race season. It's impossible to train properly because we shoot 12 shows in 21 days, and you really need to put the work in to run a marathon. And I just kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off with him because I wanted to be ready. And finally, I committed, and knowing that I was not going to be able to train properly, but thought, well, I can just muscle my way, use my mental fortitude to get through it. And the training was going pretty well for a while, and then I ended up tearing my hamstring doing some track work. And I've never torn a hamstring in my life. I've never had any injuries like that before, and it was unbelievably painful. And I tried to run, and it was just getting worse. And then finally, when I went to physio, they just said, you got to stop running. I mean, you literally have to just stop. So I was doing everything but running. I was riding, I was walking, the physio said, anything that hurts, you just can't do it. So I found riding a bike was fine, so I could keep my aerobic fitness up.
Yeah.
And then I went on race, and I didn't have a lot of time to train. And I tried running, and time was getting short, getting closer and closer towards the New York Marathon. I didn't want to pull out. I'd committed. And the physio said, well, go do a test and see how you go. So I went and I ran 1 mile, and I got this terrible pain in my hamstring. I rested another week, and then I ran 2 miles, and then I got the pain. Then 3 miles, I got the pain. Then 4 miles, I got to 4 miles. And then my physio was like, listen, you're not going to get any more running fit. It's lucky dip as to whether your leg is going to hold up if you rest it, but that's your best chance. So that's what I did. And I decided that I needed to check my ego. I was really keen on getting under 4 hours.
Yeah.
But I decided I had to really check my ego and just run really, really conservatively just to finish with and not stop. And so that's the approach that I took going into it. So I was untrained, but full of lots of determination.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got it done. Over 4 hours, but not a lot over. And that's, obviously an incredible accomplishment given especially what you were going through injury-wise and the challenge. Talk about a season of filming your show, Amazing Race, and what those days are like. I can only imagine how hard it must have been, even if you were healthy, to try to squeeze in the training hours. What's a day or a week life like when you're going through the process of getting that show taped?
The teams and their crews are on a completely different schedule from us making the show. They'll run a leg, and then they're down for a day while we prepare for the next leg. But our schedule is just every day. It just does not stop. We don't have any down days. There's no rest. And a lot of our travel happens at night. So we'll shoot all day. We'll fly through the night. Sometimes we have connections in the middle of the night, and then we get up and then we shoot all day, and then we'll shoot all day, and then we get on another flight and we'll fly all night. So there are times where, like it happened this season, I think, where we had 3 nights back to back where our sleep was on a plane. And we actually pray for the longer flights because we get more rest. It's the shorter ones that really get you, because you get woken up in the middle of the night to go transfer to get another flight. Get up and you're groggy, and you get up and you go. So it's just full on. There's no rest. And not a lot of people have survived, doing all 39 seasons. I think there's only maybe 2 of us that have been there right from the beginning on the road, just because it's so brutal. The attrition rate is pretty high on the crew, and it's a marathon, literally, to get through it, and takes a lot of mental fortitude. And the last thing you feel like doing, even if you have time, is to go do a run. So you do get your standing on your feet hours clocked in, because you're on your feet a lot. But there's not really a chance to do the proper type of training that you're meant to do for a marathon.
Yeah. How were you able to draw on your mental fortitude that you get from taping the show? You mentioned that that's really what you relied on when you ran the marathon. And I saw a video of you at the finish line where you thanked your donors and talked about the fact that you suffered for it. You definitely felt the pain, especially in those last, I think you said 6 miles or so. So talk about that day and how you were able to draw on some of that stamina that you've developed from actually hosting the show.
Well, the hardest thing, yes, hosting the show, the mental fortitude of that, and then also that the ride that I did around France in 2013, that took more mental fortitude of anything I've ever done in my life. I rode 3,332 miles in 26 days on an 85-year-old bicycle, 150 miles a day, and some of those days were 23 and a half hours of riding. That was the longest stage. It was called the Death Stage. And back in 1920, because we retraced the 1928 Tour de France, every mile, every mountain on the original bikes. We had it a lot easier than they did back then, because a lot of the roads were unsealed in 1928, and we at least had sealed roads. But riding a single speed bike up some of those mountains, the Tourmalet, the Col d'Aubisque, I was hallucinating in the middle of the night with my buddy Ben. I was, really, really seeing things. So I've taken myself mentally to extremes when my body has started to fail, and my mind, I knew I had the mental fortitude. It was really just a matter of the physicality of, on a bicycle, the strain on your muscles, the jarringness on your muscles is very different. It's hard to explain, but my heart rate never went over 135 when I ran the marathon. It was all about my anaerobic. It was about my muscles trying to just like literally keep on moving, but I never felt out of breath. Whereas when I rode on a bike, or you're in a race, your heart rate's screaming through the roof, and then that's what gives out before your legs give out. Your legs are trained, and it's your lungs. You just can't breathe and fire your legs. So it was quite a different experience. So I knew I had the mental fortitude, but the best advice I got was, just before the race started, another runner, an experienced runner, came up, and he was one of the runners that has run, more than 20 marathons?
The streakers,
said, yeah, exactly. And he said to me, have you ever run a marathon before? I said, no. He said, how fit are you? And I said, well, I'm not 100%. I'm nursing an injury. He said, listen, no matter what anybody tells you, the halfway mark is 20 miles. He said, you might be feeling really, really good up to 20 miles and think, I've only got 6 miles to run, and who can't run 6 miles? But he said, do not underestimate the last 6.2 miles. That is when you're going to have to dig on everything you've got. He said, no matter how good you're feeling, 18 miles you feel good, don't get ahead of yourself. Just pace yourself. And that was the best advice. So I ran out the first mile. I thought I'm going super slow. I ran the first mile in like a 10.5 minute mile up the hill on the Verzano. I was like, okay, I'm not going to look at my watch. I never looked at my watch once as far as what my time was going to be. I was just all about do not stop and do not push yourself and pay careful attention to every single thing that's going on in your body and just back it down, back it down, back it down. And as soon as I felt like a tiny little tinge in my hamstring, I just backed it off. And I'll tell you what, he was so right. When I got to 20 miles, I felt great. And then like 20.1 miles, I was like, oh, my legs are getting heavy. And then we started going down this little incline, and I was going slower down than I was going up or on the flat. My legs were killing me. And the last 3 or 4 miles, I was in absolute agony. It was I just wasn't I just wasn't in the condition. Again, heart rate low, but legs, they just felt like bricks. I felt like I was trying to move sandbags. It was like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was, you know what I'm talking about.
Very much know that feeling. Everybody who's run a marathon or runs a lot, you're going to have days like that. And pretty much everybody, once you get to those last few miles of a marathon, no matter how well trained you are, you feel like you are carrying bags of bricks inside both of your legs. And I know that feeling very well. I had that feeling in Chicago where I ran a marathon in October. So yes, it's tough. And at
It's a
that
real
point,
thing, right?
it's
It's
real.
it's it's real. And it doesn't sound like that far. Like I some years ago I putted a golf ball across Scotland, and it was 104 miles. I did it in 4 days. So it's just over 4 marathons that I walked, and while hitting a golf ball. And um so I know that distance. It's not like the distance intimidated me. And just yesterday, I was doing some work in the garden for my parents, and I clocked up a half a marathon just walking around the garden, trimming and cutting and moving around. So it wasn't the distance; it was just to run and to ask your body to run. The conclusion I came to was you can kind of run to around that 20 mile mark with just sort of basic fitness. But if you want to be a marathon runner, you got to work on how to prepare for 20 to 26.2. That's the part you got to work
100%. 100%. It really is two different races, and your
on. Yes.
friend gave you excellent advice.
I'm so
That
glad he
last
told
six
me, boy. I'm
miles.
so glad. Because I think
Yeah.
what I would have done, I think what I would have done is I would have run to 13 miles, and I would have thought, I feel good because I did. I'm not working. My heart rate's low. Push it because, like in a bike race, if you would never ride a bike race at 135 heart rate. So I would have pushed it, and I would have thought, push it to like 145, push it to 150. You can sit 145, 150 for a few hours, no problem. And I think that's where I would have totally messed up the race, because I would have gone hard and I would have run the next, 6, 7 miles at that pace. And then I would have just collapsed. I don't think I would have been able to finish it properly. So it was the best advice. And I had a fantastic coach with me, a friend of Terrence's who came with me, Raymond, and he was, yeah. I mean, he sacrificed his race to be able to pace me out because we'd raised money, and he wanted to see me finish, and he was incredibly encouraging. But I ran the last 3, 4 miles definitely just pure guts. There was no there was no finesse. I looked pretty ugly running. I was
Yeah.
trudging along. I saw a video of myself. It just looked like I was, yeah, like I said,
Oh,
like pulling sandbags down the road. It was
those
horrible.
videos of yourself, you don't want to see those the last few miles. Yeah. I
Not pretty.
finished a marathon in Berlin, and like the last 100 meters, I felt I was running really hard for the finish line. I was like, okay, a really strong finish. And then I saw a video of it a few weeks later, and it looks like I'm barely moving when I
Yeah.
cross the finish line. So that's just the way it is at the end of a marathon. No doubt about it.
I think it's mind blowing when it is a real race of truth. And uh, I think has given me a totally different. I've always been fit all my life. I've done some pretty big physical things in my life, pushed myself, but I think running the marathon now, I have a totally different perspective on some of the incredible feats of some human beings that 60. What is a guy the other day? The 60-year-old. What did he run a two? He ran a 2:36 or something, and he was 60.
Yeah, we see some incredible feats,
Mind
whether
blowing.
it's someone at a certain age running fast, or the people able to run marathons in consecutive marathons over a
Yes,
few weeks or whatever. I mean, people can do incredible things. They really can.
and I
And
love that, and I saw the things that I saw were here's me talking about my hamstring, and I didn't have time to train and all the rest of it. Meanwhile, I'm running down, running, and I see on the back of someone's T-shirt, "I have MS, and it's not going to stop me," or uh, I have terminal cancer, and and I'm going to finish this race. Uh, I saw people who had had strokes, clearly who had had strokes, who are just muscling their way down, just gritting it out mile after mile after mile, like the most inspirational things. And it it put my little hamstring into perspective. Is sort of like, really, that's what you're going to talk about? Your damn hamstring? This person is dealing with something so much bigger, and what does it take? And the other part of it was, you look at the winners are running in just over 2 hours, and and you think, well, that's an incredible feat. And by the way, I have no idea how a human being can move that quickly over that distance. But the part that really I find inspirational are the people who are literally on their feet, gritting it out, putting in the amount of effort they're putting in for 10 hours. Like, to ask to go another 6 hours on top of what I did, I can't even imagine. Like, so that in itself is, it's such a personal thing, the race, right?
yeah,
It's like everybody has got their own race going on, which makes it special. But
we
it's
got to
tough on the,
send you a link. Yeah, it really is. We got to make sure we send you a link, Phil, to our film, Final Finishers, which tells the story of some of those folks who are finishing in 10, 11 hours, and
yes,
what they go through and some of
I
their
saw it.
backstories. Oh, you
I
did?
saw it. That's why, yeah, that's why I brought it up, because when I saw it, it just again gave me a whole other perspective into what I saw. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you just marvel. And what was it, 57,000 people or something?
59,226.
50.
That was the official finisher number. It was a world record, huge race. And yeah, we were thrilled that someone like you could be a part of it. I saw your interview after the race as well. You talked about the signs and how much you
Oh,
enjoyed the signs along the way. Can you talk about some of the signs you saw? And it sounds like maybe some of them were specifically tailored to you since folks knew you
yeah,
were running.
yeah. Phil, this is your amazing race. Don't get eliminated. Um, uh, put me on the amazing race. Yeah, the signs I loved. In fact, they were a great distraction. They were a great distraction, particularly towards the end. And some of them so creative. The one I loved was run like you just stole jewels uh, in Paris or something.
Yes, from the Louvre. Yeah, we saw a lot of those,
A lot of the Louvre
signs like you
running
just
jokes.
robbed the Louvre. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you, uh, well, what was the one about the?
We saw a
Oh,
lot, Phil, about the government because the government was shut down. So
yeah,
there were a lot. You run better than the government and
yeah. You
things
run
like
better
that.
than the government. That was a good one. There was a really funny one. There were a couple of women that had some that were like, uh, "I'm single. You've got stamina. Call me."
Yeah, always a popular one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then tap here for power. It's like,
Oh yeah, the power button,
the power
absolutely.
button, hit here
Which
for
I
power.
think those work. Somehow I think those work. There's something about hitting those that somehow
Uh,
you do feel something when you hit those. So,
and when you hear your
listen,
name being called out, and all of a sudden you're like striding, and then you're like, how much longer do I have to keep running past this person at a reasonable pace to look good? No, but it's
amazing, amazing.
yeah, just the energy is infectious. It's such a party, and I'd heard so much about it, and yeah, I'm really grateful, and also to run for a great cause. The other
Yeah,
thing that I thanked at the end, all the people I wanted to thank at the end were all the volunteers, the selfless uh, time and energy that so many people put into making the event what it is. People that turn up to hand out water, and they're full of so much enthusiasm, one cup after another, hour after hour. People running along, people monitoring the sidelines, the course, the police departments, fire department. There was one guy, one police officer who had his it was near the beginning actually. He had his police car parked on the Verzana, and the doors open, and he was playing "Eye of the Tiger." And he looked like he was the guy that listened to that music back in the 80s. He's got this thing pumped. He got a big speaker in the back of his police car, and he's just rocking it out. Like, it's the eye of the tiger, and we're all like, yeah. And he's, fire department standing on top of their truck, like waving out. Yeah, it's infectious. It's pretty
yeah.
amazing.
There's nothing like it. Absolutely.
You got to
Talk a
put the
little.
work in. I mean, I think you got to put the work in. Uh, Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to have the race you want to have, right? If you've got a time goal or whatever, the more work you put in, the better it's going to be. I always tell people you're going to get out of it what you put in, right?
Definitely.
And that's what it comes down to. Everybody's got their own ability level, but you end up training close to running, I should say, close to what you trained for. And if
Yeah.
you train to run in 4 hours or 350 or 6 hours, you train for that, and you're probably going to get that return on the
Yeah.
investment. But everybody's got different goals. And then, of course, there's always the wild cards of you have a good day weather-wise, or, you have a stomach upset or something that can derail you. So, there's always the intangibles that can get you. And injuries are really at the top of that list, as you well know from your experience. Talk a bit about, you mentioned Terrence, the CEO of Back on My Feet, one of our charity partners who inspired you to run. Talk a bit more about that organization, Back on My Feet, how you've gotten to know them, and what they do, what their impact is.
Yeah. So I love organizations that are about not so much a handout, but a hand up, like helping people help themselves, teaching people how they can help themselves. Um, just being involved in a lot of philanthropic endeavors over the years, uh, particularly with MS, had a goal to raise $1 million for MS, which we managed to achieve. Um, that charity is so much about raising money for research towards finding a cure, which hopefully in my lifetime we will see a cure for MS. The Back on My Feet organization is more about helping people help themselves by getting into a program where they can get motivated, helps them to get motivated to turn up for training a couple days a week, making a commitment to themselves and self improvement. And I love that some of the people who've come through the program are now part of Back on My Feet, so they know firsthand what it's like to live on someone's couch or to live out of their car. And even Terrence, Terrence went through some challenging times in his life where he can really identify with some of the people that he's trying to help, and he speaks openly and honestly about that. And for a lot of people who are needing help, a lot of them have addictive personalities, and if you can get someone who has those traits, addicted to exercising or addicted to committing to running, it's a way better thing to be addicted to than some substance. So yes, getting people to commit. They turn up. Once they commit, as with anything, they say it takes 22 days to create a habit. Once they get in the habit, once they realize that they're a part of a community, then it's like turning up and being responsible for themselves, but also being there for others. And the success rate of getting people into jobs, feeling like they have some self-worth again, and helping them get into homes is extremely high. So it works. And on the Saturday morning before the run, we went and did a big sort of carbo loading. We had a big carbo loading gathering, and I got to see firsthand and hear firsthand from some of the people who have come through the program, and it works. So yes, again, I just encourage everybody to remember at some point in our lives we'll need a little helping hand. And so if you can get involved in an organization like that, or just make sure that you give back, because at some point you're going to need somebody to help you. And it's an important balance in life to look out to help others. Makes you feel good. Makes you feel good when you do it.
Yeah, no, it's great message, and congrats. I knew you raised over $10,000 for that organization, and I think it's still open for those to donate as well. So great job. And Phil, I know that you, in addition to Back on My Feet, you also had dedicated this race to your father, who I know was in the hospital on race day, and I'm aware that sadly you lost him since then. My condolences, Phil, on that. I'm very sorry for your loss. How has that changed your perspective on the experience? Obviously, it's difficult month for you to get through, I'm sure, and not just because of the marathon.
Yeah, my dad being sick for some time. I've been coming back and forth a lot. We had a service for him last week. We gave him a great send off. My dad did know of me finishing the marathon. I was able to share that with him. He was incredibly proud. Apparently, told a couple of the nurses, and there were a few nurses there that had actually run marathons. My dad took great interest in everybody and what they were doing. So, yeah, he was asking a lot of questions about it. Um, yeah, the last few miles are kind of emotional. I was feeling really like I said, it was a struggle to get through those last few miles, but I drew a lot of strength from my dad's grit and determination. He was a very, very determined person, a great rugby player, great supporter of mine. He was there for me when I rode across America. He drove the support vehicle when I went around France. So yeah, I I feel good about the life that he had and that we were able to celebrate it properly last week. It's still very fresh. Um, Still very fresh, and I know I'm, gonna miss him
Yeah,
terribly. But yeah, I learned a lot from him and great lessons that I hope to pass on.
yeah,
Many
yeah.
I've already passed on to my daughter, but yeah, it was. Yeah, he was a good man. Gonna miss him for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad he got to know and that you finished, and I'm sure he really sounds like the kind of guy who would be very proud and into that sort of thing. So condolences again, and it's kind of a segue actually to your philosophy of life. It seems, which is really about you know having these experiences, right? And you call it ticket before you kick it, right? It's your hashtag,
Yeah.
and it's all about that bucket list. You spell a bucket list with the IT. Talk a bit about that. I don't know if that's something you got from your father, or how you developed this philosophy, what it really means to tick it before you kick it.
Yeah, so it came from a near death experience when I was 19, and I wrote a list, and my I was only 19, and my list was pretty selfish. And over the years of having a child and getting older and more mature, you start to think more about other people and what you can do for others rather than what you can just do for yourself. So that's where it started, and I turned that list into a career, uh, and then I had a podcast which will be getting going again. It stopped down during during COVID, and then I got distracted with another show called Tough as Nails while out of COVID. So, but yes, I'm all about pushing people to uh, do the things they really want to do. Before my dad died, um, I got him to sit down and tell me all the things he wanted to do in his life, and we managed to tick some of those things off in recent years. One of which was going to Iceland, and so couple of summers ago, we went to Iceland. It was the one place he really wanted to go to as a scientist and someone who studied soil science and really interested in geology. So we got to give him that experience. We did a tramp together. There was a particular tramp that he wanted to do. So we ticked off a lot of things off my dad's list. But yeah, I think with dad passing away, you realize that, there's things that he didn't get to tick off his list. But it sure is a good reminder of, if there are things that you want to do, get on and do them. Because when death is very final. It's hard to imagine. Like, I can't do these things with him anymore, but I have the memories of the things we did do.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, really well said. Absolutely. This show, The Amazing Race, it's incredible. Going on 40 seasons now. Why do you think it's been so successful? I mean, I think maybe it does in a way tie into what we're talking about, right? Some of the desire people have to have experiences. Obviously, as a viewer of the show, you're kind of watching, and maybe it's almost like a little bit of you're experiencing some of these crazy things through the competitors in The Amazing Race. But why do you think it's been so successful and lasted so long? What does it tell you about people that they're so interested in watching this competition?
Well, when The Amazing Race came on, it really was groundbreaking. It was extremely ambitious, what we were attempting to do, taking these in the first season, 11 teams of 2 around the world. And the world was very different when we started out. It was a much bigger place. There were places that people weren't as savvy as they are now about the world and what's going on in the world. And so it really was, for a lot of these teams, it was like they were being explorers, and then of course the audience got to see the world through their eyes. And over the years, the show has really evolved as travel has evolved and technology has evolved. So many people now are traveling and documenting their travel experiences. It's just encouraging more and more people, I think, to get out and to see our world. And I think it's hugely important. Suddenly the world has become a lot smaller. And I think people are starting to realize just how connected we all are. We're not all these separate. We're seeing ourselves less and less, I guess, as so far away from each other. We realize just how interconnected we really are. And I think the races really helped with that. And to me, one of the great things about Amazing Races, that it's helped open people's eyes up to difference. Maybe helped give people a different understanding of the world that they didn't have before, because they're seeing different cultures. And it's particularly important right now that we not see ourselves as different, but more that there's a lot more we have in common than we think.
Yeah, no, I really do think back to when it started. Was it in the 90s? Late 90s the show started?
We started 2001 was our first show. We shot at the beginning of 2001, and then it went to air at the end of 2001.
Yeah.
And
no social media at that point. No, YouTube wasn't really, I think, a thing at all, right? So, I mean, people they were much more limited in the things they could see, right? And the programs that they watched were, it's just such a narrower set of content out there. And so this was something that really was new. And now, there's content like this all over the place, depending on who you follow on social media or on YouTube. But I think what's amazing is that the show has sustained all of that.
Yeah, it's one of the few shows that has stayed through a lot. A lot of shows have come and gone, and it's remained a staple. It's part of the zeitgeist, and I don't think any of us, when we first started, ever imagined that it would continue to go on as long as it has. But people still love it. They love sitting on their couch, and they love escaping with us somewhere around the world.
Yeah. I'm just curious, is there any idea that was out there in terms of something to have the competitors do on the show, but it just didn't make it? It was too wild. Have there been things that people thought about having on the show, but eventually they just said, no, we can't do that. It's too much. It's too crazy.
No, not so much. A lot of it is to do. We want to push people, but we want everything we consider. We have to consider from a safety point of view, because it is literally our number one concern: is how do we get people to go around the world, have a great experience, and get them home safely.
Mm-hmm.
That's our number one priority. I am hopeful that we might be able to get to space in the next few years. I think that would be a great thing to do. You can just imagine, right? Like a fast forward where you go up to the space station, a quick trip up into space. Maybe not the space station, but maybe up into space itself, and do a quick
SpaceX or something like that. You can totally see it.
I could see it, right? I mean, I can absolutely see it happening. So, yeah, I think everything we consider from the point of view, is it something that we can do safely? And then sometimes there's things that we do that have perceived danger. It's not dangerous to bungee jump, but it's perceived to be dangerous because you are literally jumping off a perfectly safe bridge attached to a rubber band.
Yeah. What's the most amazing thing you've seen on the show? What's the most amazing feat?
Well, the things that I think are the most amazing are the things that are more about how people reacted to what we got them to do. For instance, that cheese challenge in season 14 is forever going to be hard to beat, where the cheese got out of control, started rolling down the hill, and the locals were laughing and just thought it was the most hysterical thing they'd ever seen. Or, even going back to Colin, when he said his ox was broken, he was plowing a field, and he said his ox was broken. I mean, it's such a classic Amazing Race moment. But you just the wide range of things that they've done over the years, going down where the terracotta warriors were or are, down into the pit. I only a few people have ever had permission to go down there. We got permission to go down, being on top of beautiful mountains, and being in Mongolia and the open plains. And yeah, I mean, we're approaching 100 countries visited, 1,000,000 miles traveled, 40 seasons, as you mentioned, is around the corner. So we're about to hit a few milestones, and pretty extraordinary, over a quarter of a century.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, congrats on that. It's really, really cool. What's your next adventure? So you've done the marathon, Phil. Is there another bucket list item that's now a front and center for you? What's next?
Space. Yeah, I'm ready to go. If anybody has a ticket, I'm ready to go. I'd love to go to space. I'd love to go to Antarctica. I have an open invitation to go to Antarctica. I've got a few new projects that I'm working on. Actually, when I found out about my dad passing, I was in London. I had a meeting there, and talking about some exciting projects. So yeah, I'm always got something going on, and I'm really excited about the next season of Amazing Race coming on. The season we just shot is really good, and
where is it set?
Well, we start in North America as always, and then we're into Europe, and then the season 38 was shot as a European adventure. Season 39 uh, back to going around the world again, and I was involved in producing one of the episodes, which I'm very excited about. Which is towards the end of the season, and it turned out really, really well. And as a matter of fact, I got to see my dad. That was the last time I saw my dad. He managed to come out to location, so that particular episode had special meaning for me. And my dad was the greeter on Amazing Race in season 13 when it was take dad to work day. So yeah, this season has particular special meanings.
Well, I can't wait to check it out. Season 38, and that's premiering when? Do you have a premiere date for that yet?
For 39.
39, sorry.
Yeah, 39. We do not have a date yet.
All right.
But hopefully early in the new year, we'll be getting some indication about when we're going to have it.
All right. Well, we'll keep an eye out for it. But Phil Keoghan, amazing to speak to you. Congratulations on finishing our amazing race, the TCS New York City Marathon, and as well as another season of The Amazing Race on CBS. And we look forward to seeing it. And just great spending time with you. Congrats on everything. And again, condolences on your father. Hope you and your family have some good time together.
Yeah, I really appreciate all the support I got from you and your team, and again, thanks to all the volunteers and everybody who made the marathon possible this year. And it was an honor to be a part of it. Yeah, congratulations.
Congrats to you, Phil. Phil Keoghan. New York Roadrunners is a nonprofit organization with a vision to build healthier lives and stronger communities through the transformative power of running. The support of members and donors like you helps us achieve our mission to transform the health and well-being of our communities through inclusive and accessible running experiences, empowering all to achieve their potential. Learn more and contribute at nyrr.org/donate. Our member moment today is with someone who embodies the heart of Final Finishers, the first documentary produced by New York Roadrunners East 89th Street production studio. Michael Ring is a lifelong Brooklyn runner who spent decades running with the Prospect Park Track Club. He ran sub-4-hour marathons and had a near unbroken streak at the TCS New York City Marathon. But then in 2014, Guillain-Barré syndrome left him almost entirely paralyzed. He spent 135 days in the hospital relearning how to move from wheelchair to walker to cane. But slowly and stubbornly, Michael made his way back to the starting line, and today he's completed more than 40 marathons, including 7 after being diagnosed. Michael is a disability advocate, a fixture in the New York City running community, and one of the unforgettable voices in East 89th Street's Final Finishers. Take it away, Meb.
Thank you, Rob. Michael,
hi.
Welcome to Set the Pace. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
How you been?
I've been good. Before we start, can I just talk to you, because back in 2004 there was a Roadrunners Club race. I forgot which one, and I came home and the house was empty, which was unusual because my twins were 4 years old, and I just turned on the TV and you were running the Olympics, the marathon, and I'm not usually a person who watches sports on TV. I don't keep track of elite athletes or celebrities. But you weren't in second place when I turned on the TV. And I always remember the moment where you threw your hat off. And that's when I knew you were going to try to win. And I became a fan of you and of the Olympics at that moment. I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you.
Oh, very kind of you, Michael. It was 2004 Athens Olympics. Yes, when I threw that hat, I was going for a gold. I was a silver medal place.
Yeah,
and
I knew you were going for it.
Stefano Baldini, but he had a phenomenal day.
Yeah.
I tried. It was a great day to be able to come home.
I saw the hat.
Silver medal. that was fun memory, and thanks for the support over the years. So Michael, welcome to Set the Pace. Glad to have you, and we have seen each other at the final finishers. But let's go back to your roots. When you ran a sub 4 marathoner long NYC marathon streak before Guillain-Barré, what was the moment when you realized I may never run like this again, but I still want to run?
Well, people ask me that often, and I never put that in my head. I I always thought that, I was always training for a marathon and an ultra marathon. Before 2014, that was my way of life. But I always accepted the fact that I might not finish the next marathon, or, I don't know when it will be. So I always thought that that training for marathons, where the goal is beyond the horizon sometimes, prepared me for paralysis, where recovery may have been beyond the horizon. So I never really thought about not finishing or not running again. I just thought that continually preparing for running again was all I kept thinking about.
Just amazing. I mean, we all have doubts, but I'm calling myself. I'm doing my first one. I don't know if I could ever finish, but to go what you went through, it's just amazing, incredible story. You have talked about how early on, when you were learning to move your fingers again, you set the goal running the marathon someday. What did holding on to that goal do for you during those 135 days in the hospital?
Well, it gave me something to think about because being in the hospital is very boring and there's only so much TV you can watch. But I I always imagined every mile of the New York City Marathon. I had run it about 20 times at that point, so I knew the course very well, and I would describe it to myself. I would remember where each mile marker was. Um, it was hard when I was at NYU Langone, looking down at the training routes that I had trained on, the route that eventually became the New York City half on the FDR Drive. Um, and I just said, I was there, I'll be back. You could fall, but you get up.
Absolutely, and especially when you are at the hospital, there's a lot of uncertainty. The marathon has its own uncertainty, but been in the hospital for 135. So I do talk a lot of athlete about visualization. I guess you were visualizing yourself, even though we're in the hospital at the course of the New York City Marathon. When you finally came back to the NYC Marathon in 2017 and finished in just under 10 hours, what surprised you the most about being out there on the course for that long?
Well, then it got dark. I had run it a lot, and it's a race that takes place during the day. I remember seeing the lights go on, and Hannah's in the movie with me,
Mhm.
and she really expressed it amazingly of what it was like to be at the finish line. Because I was also surprised that anyone was there, because in preparing for 2017, I had run a lot of Roadrunners Club races, and the finish line was just a guy with a stopwatch waiting for me. The fact that the finish line rebooted and there were many people I know, people went home and took a shower and came back to cheer for me. People I didn't know were there. I felt like since it was dark, it was like a disco ball was lit up. The excitement was, they saved the excitement for me and the other people who were finishing with me. It was really kind of cool.
Peter Chacho, who was our race director, and Ted, and many others from the New York Runs do make the effort to be there to meet you and celebrate you. You have said that elite athlete stories can sometimes feel predictable and that the real drama is in the back of the pack. Why do you wish more people understood about what happened after dark on Marathon Day?
Well, people don't understand that I'm still running 26.2 miles, but it takes longer. So, could you run for 10 hours? It's hard. It's not any easier to run slow. And my guides are actually walking, so their feet are landing flat-footed, and they've been getting banged in the back by all the fast people who've been trying to pass me for the past, 4 or 5 hours in the beginning of the race. Um, the people should know that, a lot of people have a comeback story. A lot of people don't have the natural ability that a lot of the elite athletes have. So getting to that finish line is hard, no matter how fast you go, and it's an accomplishment no matter how long it takes.
I definitely agree. I mean, as a lead athlete, we sometimes try to get there ASAP as soon as possible, make it look good, make it look easy. But whether you're on the front of the pack or middle of the pack or back, but it is 26.2 miles, and everybody has their own individual stories to make it through the finish line. And whether it takes 2 hours or 10 hours is always a miracle and amazing accomplishments. And congratulations on doing that. I can't run that long for 10 hours, and it definitely hurts a marathon, but I'm pretty sure it hurts lot a lot longer than that. But you have been part of the Prospect Park Track Club for decades, and now you often run with the Achilles guides. How has community shaped your recovery and your return to racing?
Uh, it's been amazing. I'm not a religious person. I don't have a church or anything, but the running community came out for me when I was in the hospital. The Prospect Park Track Club had planned group runs where the destination was my hospital. People came to my room just to say hi and be with me. And in returning to running, I didn't really know what Achilles was, and I didn't know I need help because, I can go run around Prospect Park right now, but in any greater distance, the likelihood of me falling is kind of high, and it's hard for me to get up. And in a race, I need a little more help. And there's people who line up to volunteer to help me and help people in my category. Um, it's kind of nice. And I've been a bridge between the Prospect Park Track Club and Achilles, bringing a lot of Achilles guides into the competitive community and bringing a lot of people from the Prospect Park Track Club into Achilles, like telling people, well, you might be a little bit injured, you might be not be able to run your race on race day, but maybe you could help someone else run their race. And people do that, and they're very kind and they feel good about it.
Absolutely. Achilles International, Achilles done amazing job, very selfless, and do races for others to get them to that finish line, no matter how hard or difficult it is. Well, what finish line or what goals feels exciting to you now?
On Sunday, December 7th, I'm going to run a 50K in Prospect Park. Um,
Wow.
it's only 9 laps of the park, so it sounds easy. Um, it starts at 6 a.m. It'll probably take me about 12 hours, and I get to dial in my all-day pace. I have guides. I have a Google spreadsheet set up for guides to join me hour by hour, and it'll be just an amazing experience to get to that finish line, to watch the sunrise and the sunset in the same place, passing the same views 9 times. It's calm and quiet and peaceful. It's a good refresh after the extremely exciting New York City Marathon. And then I'm running London and New York again next year. I'm waiting to hear from Chicago. Maybe they'll hear this and I'll get more lucky in the lottery. Um, so I want to just keep running marathons. A bigger goal is not about me specifically in running, but I'd love to get all those Abbott races in, but I can't. They won't allow me to finish Tokyo. They're really strict on time limits. There's no accommodation for people who are disabled and are working just as hard as the 4 or 5 hour people. Um, New York gives me an early start, so I finish, on Sunday, but they don't do that in a lot of the races, and it's kind of not fair. It's not cool.
Well, they might have limits, but you are unstoppable. Keep up doing the great work that you're doing, and
Thank you.
To run from 4 hours you have done, which had done amazing, and then to be able to go to the 50K now, whether it takes you 12 hours or a little bit more or a little less, is a huge accomplishment. So proud of you, Michael.
Yeah, come to Prospect Park on Sunday and take a walk with me.
Well, sounds good, but I live in Florida, so that's not
okay.
very easily accessible.
Okay.
But I hope people will be cheering you on.
All right, they will be.
Good luck.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, sounds great.
Bye.
Thank you, Michael, for joining us on Set the Pace. Thank you for being a part of Final Finishers. And remember, if you haven't checked it out yet, you can see Michael and all the incredible stories of Final Finishers streaming on ESPN Plus or Disney Plus anytime. All right, now it's time for today's Med Minutes.
Spring starts in December. Off-season is perfect time for recovery and nutrition to work on small things. Spring races starts in the winter. Now is the time to be able to relax a little bit and work on small details. Don't want to wait until March to get serious. Fitness build up very, very slowly. Even like sometimes just walking is the start, and then becomes a jog, and it becomes a run. But don't rush into big things immediately. Small habits matter, like sleep, stretch, strength work is when needs to be done in the off season. You know, some people say, I tell math and marathon training, you can't cram them in. It is a long time, and it takes a long process to build the mileage. Usually I take about 10% weekly to be able to stay healthy. You don't want to do too many miles too soon, and which it will lead to injuries. But consistency is important. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to go, every workout has to be just go as immediately or as home run. You just have to be consistent. And as I said, sometimes it is better to start the run, tie your shoes, and going out there. Even though sometimes in the weather it might not feel like to it, it's cold, but getting out and being consistent is very, very important. You know, building endurance is very smart. Start slow means strong later. And what I like to say is endurance could always become speed. Speed cannot become endurance. So be patient, have fun, and hey, December is when it starts for the build up for the spring. So don't wait till February or March to get it going. It starts early, and be patient and have fun doing the small thing that will pay you big dividend later on.
And that does it for another episode of Set the Pace. We want to thank our guest today, Phil Keoghan from The Amazing Race, and the amazing Michael Ring.
Such an amazing episode. I cannot wait to tune in and listen to it myself as I miss the interview and find out how he really felt over his amazing race of 26.2 through New York City. Amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty cool talking to him. I know a lot of big fans. My favorite part was him talking about all the signs that he saw. People asking to be on the race, on the Amazing Race
Stop
show
it.
because they knew he was running.
That's
so he had
commitment.
folks out there pitching him to get on the show, which was pretty awesome.
I mean, I would two people going around the world to win $1 million. Come on, I'm ready for it, Phil. I'm ready.
People shot their shot out there trying to get on the show by showing Phil a sign as he ran 26.2 miles. If you liked our episode today, make sure you leave us a rating, subscribe to it, leave us a comment so others can find the show as well. I'll see many of you out there in Central Park this Saturday for the Ted Corbett 15K. Enjoy the miles. We'll see you next week.